Hey everybody, this is the conclusion, hopefully, to my fitness journey episode. So I hope you're ready. Today I will be talking about my goals, past goals, and current goals for me and my fitness. So let's get to it. Hi everybody. It's Arvon, and I want to welcome you to Season 2 of Moment High Podcast. For those of you just joining in, my podcast covers a wide variety of topics from the geeky and nerdy to the witchy and weird. So I invite you to sit down, get comfortable, and have an awesome conversation with me. Enjoy the episode, everyone. So we've covered a lot within these past 3 episodes. The first episode about my fitness was just kind of about me rambling about just the things I've learned, like kind of coming up. Again, really briefly, I started really focusing and biting down on my fitness about maybe 2-3 years ago, and I've really ramped it up probably the past 2 years. Pretty much when I started my podcast, I started to be very focused and very serious about my fitness and my physical health. So I kind of put together the first episode with that in mind. What did I learn on my fitness journey, and like the routines that I've ended up finding out, the tips and tricks that have really helped me out, especially being like a husband and a father of 4 kids. Like a lot of the things that I've learned that have helped me, especially since I'm not going to the gym very frequently, especially since I'm not as prominent in the gym spaces that I was when I was younger. I'm no longer going to the gym 5 times a week. I'm no longer going to the gym for 2, 3, 4 hours at a time. These days, because I don't want to take away, and this is what I covered in like the second episode too, is priorities shift throughout our lives. The lifestyles that we have, they change. You end up being single. You end up having a relationship, you end up having a family. All of these different parts of life causes our lifestyle to change. Maybe not a lot, but enough that we have to change our priorities during this time. And sometimes that doesn't leave much room for physical fitness. That doesn't leave much room for healthiness of picking and choosing what to eat. When you have super young kids and you need to feed them, sometimes you have to pick the fast food route. Otherwise, you're going to not keep your sanity. But that's what I covered in episode 2. Episode 2 was a lot about like my life phases and lifestyle changes throughout my life and my ever-evolving ideas on what fitness is and what an ideal body is. I think going over it is just like when I was younger, I thought the ideal body for being physically fit was one thing. And now as I grew up, growing up, it's hard to keep that idea alive when you're going through all of these changes in your life and you're gaining weight because you have different priorities, you have a whole bunch of different jobs. It's a lot. And so you keep having this ideal body in your mind and you try to keep measuring up to it, and it's not happening. So of course it's gonna be discouraging for you to keep up. And it was for me. And so episode 2 was kind of these shifts along my life towards accepting who I am, or was who I am now. That's kind of what episode 2 was just learning with what I have, how can I accept myself? And with what I have, how can I love myself? And so now we take it on to episode 3, which is going to be talking about my goals and how they've shifted and where I'm going from this point forward. Realistically, when you're a kid, the last thing on your mind is the health benefits of being fit. Or at least that's how I was when I was a kid. No, my goals for being fit when I was a kid learning martial arts was I just wanted to be like Bruce Lee. I just wanted to be like the Power Rangers. I wanted to be able to kick, punch. I wanted to like do all these crazy stuff because in my mind that's what was cool. And I really looked towards the animes that I was watching, Goku or Ryu from Street Fighter, and all of that stuff really helped me drive into like the martial arts, and I really wanted to be like them. Then that stopped because I went into middle school and I stopped martial arts. I wouldn't pick up martial arts until like college again, everybody. And I guess that's another episode, but it won't be a fitness episode. I think it'll be like a how I got into martial arts episode. But fast forward in my martial arts days, in my college years, that's when I really started picking up on going to the gym and being active in the gym because I had a job at the gym. So I was already in that space, and so it just naturally went into me training. And during that time, outside of training for martial arts, I was going to the gym very frequently. Like I said, I'm going to the gym maybe 3, 4, 5 times a week for 3, 4 hours a day. And I was very mindful about what I was eating. I was very mindful about what I was doing. So I was very focused, like razor sharp about going to the gym because I had the idea of a body that I really wanted to focus on. So again, not so much the health benefits, but like it was really down to like how I wanted to look. Still, same with like, hey, like I really wanted to be able to punch, kick properly, and do all these crazy things, and I was driven towards like wanting to look like Bruce Lee and wanting to look like Ryu from Street Fighter, definitely. So I trained. I was not only training in martial arts, but I was training at the gym too. I was doing a lot of things. I would like to say back in the day, I was training still because I had a training mentor, but the difference would be like I feel like I'm way more knowledgeable now, and I would have given myself a lot more tips and tricks that would have been able to help me out back in the day. I think young college Arvon was just seeing what he could do and trying to envision what he could do at the gym and just knocking it all out. I wouldn't have known when to add weights. I wouldn't have known how to add weights, and I wouldn't have known like reps between sets and all of that. I was just kind of going to the gym and just kind of Frankensteining my workout. Eventually, I ended up running into a mentor because he was seeing me leg press really heavy weights. And he was like, hey, have you tried, like, deadlifting? And I was like, no, I have not. And so he introduced me on, like, how to deadlift, how to squat properly, how to bench press. So he really introduced me to kind of this new world where I'm now more focused on, I can really put in a lot of work on defining my body rather than just going to the gym and kind of Frankensteining my workout, being very intentional of going to the gym. I want to work out these muscle groups. That's what I kind of learned at that first phase of my fitness life or journey way back when I was in college, especially when it came down to going to the gym. First things that I would do first thing in the gym was do like what I would call like the Holy Trinity: deadlift, squat, and bench press. I would do those 3, and then I would just hash out on all of the minor muscle group machines. So that's kind of what I ended up doing in college. My goals in college was not only did I want to hit hard, but I wanted to look good. I wanted to kind of have this ideal quote unquote body that I had envisioned of what peak fitness looked like. And that happened, and I would soon meet my and then a slight shift in my life again would be I started living with my sister, and she would have a family, and so there's this big change in dynamic of now I'm living with people rather than my parents, and really having these shifting priorities because my sister would end up having like 2 kids over here, and so making sure that I was available for my nephews and my godsons. Like I had to I've come to learn that I'm a family man at heart, in my core, well beyond martial arts. Like I am very much a family oriented guy. My whole universe centers around my family, and me needing to be with my family, me needing to be with just people I loved. So at that point, I really centered my life on being with my sister, her husband, whom I love. I love my brother-in-law. Anyway, and their 2 kids. So that was kind of my whole life, and then me kind of structuring things around that was really important because I mean, at that point, we were all living together, so we had to make sure that we were also, like, living, right? I would take night shifts, and me and my brother-in-law would take night shifts, and we would rotate just so that, because everybody in the household had a job, but we didn't want to pay for childcare, because childcare is expensive. So finding those nooks and crannies of how we're gonna kind of raise these 2 kiddos, and so we were trying to pick up shifts so that everything kind of made sense, was important. So that was like one part of my life. So already you kind of saw a downward slope of the gym. I was still going to the gym, still super active, but not as active because just I didn't have the freedom I did when I was single. And then hopping over to when my sister and my brother-in-law and the kids left because they all decided to go to Georgia because it was easier to live over there, I was left with me and my younger brother over here. So we ended up like going over to our aunt's place. We rented like a small room, and so here I was kind of in this weird area of like trying to figure out life, because at this point I was not only living with my brother, but at this point I was really developing a very serious relationship with my girlfriend to be wife. And so I was kind of in this space of, here's my girlfriend who would be my wife, she's got 2 kids, and I've already really grown attached to them as my family. If you ever talk to me, I introduce my 2 kiddos as my 2 kiddos. I don't ever go into like, oh yeah, they're my stepkids. It doesn't work for me. At my core, at my heart, they're my kids, and I don't treat them any way different than that. So again, now I was thrust into like a lifestyle where I had a family already, and so all of my all of my priorities ended up having to shift again. And so a lot less at the gym, still going to the gym actively though, but a lot less, and still trying to eat as clean as possible. But the difference is now I didn't have a refrigerator. I didn't have access to like meals that were good. Like I had to cook my own meals. I had to do my own things, grocery shop for myself. So a lot of that was trying to figure out that way of life as well. So at that point, we ended up getting really serious, me and my wife, and we ended up living together. That's when I became a full-time dad. And yet again, my priorities ended up shifting. So here, being a full-time dad, full-time husband, trying to figure out what this new relationship and lifestyle is, because a lot of things change. We ended up having my daughter, and martial arts was getting serious because we had like dojos already up and running, so I was doing a lot at the dojo. So I did not have a lot of time to go to the gym. And I want to say, outside of martial arts, that was like the only time I was able to go and have some sort of fitness with my body. I had stopped going to the gym and was just exclusively training in martial arts. So that was the biggest span of my life. That would be like well up until we ended up going and buying a house, and and then we had another kiddo, and so different spurts through this span I would go into the gym and working out, of course, but really, like, I didn't have much time because I didn't prioritize the gym. I prioritized my family, which I always do now. I always prioritize my family, hence why I wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym, because I want to make sure that I have time for my family, because again, I am a family guy at my core. So that would fast forward to now, where I now have the time and ability and knowledge to go to the gym. But in this kind of lifestyle now, is a lot of my goals have shifted because, trying, like, accepting who I am and accepting, like, my body and loving my body for what it is. Like, my wife will say she loves my body, and I love that, and that makes me feel good. But always looking at the mirror, I didn't really like what I saw back in the day. It was only, again, much more recently where I started loving, like, how I looked, and understanding. The biggest understanding I had was, you can love how you look and still put in the effort to want to look better. Like, just because you want to look better shouldn't stop you from loving how you look. And that was a really important lesson for me. So I covered that stuff in episode 2 on how I ended up loving my body and myself. And so that's really cool. So what are my goals now? My goals before a lot more recently was getting to the gym and being fit enough. One huge part and one constant priority at the gym was lifting, because my daughter has special needs. And when we found out she was special needs, every time I would go to the gym and every time I trained, it was with the sole purpose of, I need to make sure that I am able and available for my daughter. That priority has never shifted since the day she was born. Because we knew my daughter, she is starting to walk, although assisted. For the longest time, we would have to carry her because she couldn't walk. She can't talk. She's nonverbal. There's a lot there that I would love to unpack, and maybe that's going to be another video that might be a little bit of an intense one. But I knew when she was diagnosed that I wanted to be there through the rest of her life, and I couldn't do it with the lifestyle that I had. So every chance I got to go to the gym, I did. And now that, even as we progressed, having the more availability to go to the gym, I took it. And now, so with that said, now outside of trying to lift, like me, I lift heavy weights. Like, there's nothing that gives me a high more than lifting super heavy weight. Like I love seeing the weight rack up on my deadlift. So for the longest time, i.e. the span of these 2 years, a lot of it was I want to lift heavy weight. I want to be strong and be able to carry my daughter through the rest of her life. So that was very up until recently. But recently, my teacher ended up getting a dojo. So now we have a dojo opening next month in October. So if you're in the Oxnard area, it's called Casillas Martial Arts, and you can kind of find it online. She has a website, but we'll be opening up in October. And so for me, how that's going to look is I'll still wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym. The only difference is, and I have one of my martial arts students to thank for this, we were going through the drive-thru and we had seen her. Her nickname is Nani. And when we saw her, we were like, Nani! And so she came running and she was like, hey, did you hear about the dojo? And we were like, yeah, the dojo's starting up. Filipino stick fighting still going to be strong and starting. And so she kind of planted the idea of, hey, Sensei, are you going to participate in the stick fighting tournaments this upcoming year? And I had wanted to, but at that time when I was younger, I was not able to participate in stick fighting tournaments because I had family. And, you know, with my daughter being special needs, she needed a lot of help. So I couldn't participate in much stick fighting back in the day. So I was in the car giving myself excuses of like, hey, I can't because, you know, I'm pushing 36, 37. I don't know if I'll be able to do this. And my wife, my lovely, beautiful wife, who I love so much, turns to me and was like, why don't you? This would be an ongoing conversation later, but my wife was very great. She had let me know and reassured me she can really take care of the two kids because our oldest kids are now in high school and college. They can take care of themselves. My daughter is doing really well. So my wife was very supportive and was like, you should do it because it would make you happy, and like our youngest son would love to see you fight. Because I feel like all of my other kids have seen me in the martial arts kind of scene growing up. The only one that hasn't is like our most recent, because he's never seen me in even just like a gi, because when we had him, the dojo was closed. This is the first time that the dojo is going to be open, and he's 2. So my wife reassured me, like, you can do this. So I might stick fight, y'all. I might start stick fighting again, and if that's the case, then my goals at the gym is going to yet again shift to a lot, probably less strength-based training to more stamina, resilience-based training. So will I still be lifting heavy on the deadlift? Of course. Absolutely. But will I have to shift it slightly so that I can prepare myself for stick fighting? Of course I will. So I'll have to adjust to more of a stick fighting-esque fitness plan for the mornings, and probably start focusing on my diet again. So hopefully I'll have an update in a couple of months about this and keep you all posted. So if you've been supporting me up until now, thank you so much for all the support. If you're just hopping on, I hope you're able to look at all of the previous episodes and enjoy them. And I hope you consider subscribing. If you subscribe, it's, I think, like $8 a month. You'll get all of the newsletters, and I've been striving to have an episode for subscribers a quarter, so you'll have a quarterly episode that's just for subscribers. I hope that these previous episodes have really helped people, in the sense that for people that don't have time for the gym and are a little bit skeptical or less hopeful about going to the gym and what they need to do, because for some, everybody has their own situation, and sometimes if you were in a situation where I was, where maybe fitness isn't a priority. I hope these episodes help you out in navigating not just going to the gym or your fitness, but also navigating like our mindset of, this is where I'm at, I can't go to the gym, to this is where I'm at, what can I add so that I'm a little bit healthier. So I hope this has helped you out. You all have a wonderful day. If you're in the area, I want to say, if you're in the area, this weekend is IchigoCon. So if you're in the Oxnard, Camarillo, Ventura area, stop by, say hi, and get a card reading. I'll be doing tarot card readings, as well as cloud card readings. So I hope to see you there. Y'all have a great day. Thank you. Be kind to yourself and be kind to everybody else. Thank you all for listening to Momentai Podcast with me, Arvon. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you look at all of the previous episodes as well. For even more content, you can subscribe to Momentai Podcast. Subscribers not only get more videos, but they also get previews to videos coming up in the future a week ahead of time. Subscribers also get emails from me with even more things, such as newsletters and handouts. You can also find me on Instagram under Weirdo Tarot, TikTok under Sigils and Dragons, and you can even find my Momentai podcast page on Facebook. And whether you follow me on all of that or not, I want to thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'll see you next time.